All right, as promised, I'm going to teach you all how to make homemade Alfredo sauce. All right, so you could do this the natural way where you buy the little cones of Parmesan. You have to shred them, or you could do what a lot of people have time to do is you can use these. It's already shredded now. There's a little bit of cornstarch in them, so it is a good thickening agent. So it's a little bit of a life hack, if you will. I say that a lot, if you will, but it pertains in what we are talking about. So, there we go. Put a little more light. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put a full thing of cream inside the pan. You're going to cook it on low heat, very important. Milk does burn, and you do want to stir often. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. All you need is a small to medium size saucepan. The thick bottom is ideal, but this is non-stick, so it's my Gotham steel, so this will work. You want to use a small, what do you call it, small burner. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, put that on small, put that on low, and then this one we can put on high. That's going to be to boil the water. You can use any kind of macaroni you like. I personally like the normal fettuccine, nice thick pasta to mix in the Alfredo. So I'm going to go ahead and get my thick macaroni ready. Here we go. Fettuccine. What I'm going to do here is, I had these on sale at ShopRite. I went ahead and got some. I'm going to use a little bit of this black truffle salt. Get a little bit more flavor. There we go. Has such a nice aroma to it. I won this at a tricky tray for the fire department, and one of the chairmans actually donated this basket, the black truffle. So I sent her an email saying this stuff's amazing. Where'd you get it? She got it at Home Goods. In case you're interested in getting black truffle salt. Now, mind you, black truffle tastes very different from white truffle, and the most popular truffle that you're going to find is white truffle. White truffle taste has more of a earthy kind of a flavor, has an acquiring taste. There are people who either love it or hate it. I'm kind of indifferent to it. This is the regular white truffle oil that I have. It tastes good in some recipes, but the black truffle has a very savory taste to it. Goes very well with beef. As it almost went like this to you. Beef, chicken, you know, even venison I would imagine would taste good with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on this. I'm going to show you how to put the cheese in nice and slowly. And you stir as you go. Some people like to use a whisk. This is a non-stick unless you have a silicone whisk. I would just use a spoon. It's just as fine. As a matter of fact, I tend to use a rubber scraper. And this way here, when you're finished, you can scoop all of it very well into the serving dish, or put it right into the pasta altogether. Since waking up, I really don't like using the word pasta. It has a very sinister meaning to it. So I'll just stick to the old Italian terminology, macaroni. All right, so you got the fettuccine. So what you do is you add this slowly into it, and as it melts, it'll start to thicken. Now, when you use the cheese that you get at the store that you have to grate yourself, there's no cornstarch in it, so it thickens with time. Generally, this sauce takes about 10 minutes to a half an hour, depending on what kind of cheese you use. My cousin loves to do 3 cheese. She does Romano, Parmesan, and Asiago. It's very good. But the Asiago, when it cools, makes it hard as a rock. Sometimes it doesn't, in my opinion, reheat well. So I decided for experiment just to do Parmesan, and I did ricotta. And if that's what you can afford, the sauce is just as good. Now, the sauce does get salty on its own because of the cheese, but I like to do just a little bit for flavor, literally a pinch of the black truffle salt. What goes really well in Alfredo is black pepper, and I do just a touch of white pepper to it, but the black pepper gives it a nice flavor, a little kick, not too bad. But yeah, that's what I do. Let's see here. I'll do a little bit of this garlic, a little bit of garlic and herb, just a touch, because the cheese is really the main flavor of this dish. Can't find my white pepper. You don't need white pepper. I just like it. Parsley's a big one. Add some nice color to it. Parsley's good for you, and yeah, it doesn't really add too much flavor, but it's in there. I cannot find where my white pepper went. I personally like the taste of it. Has a nice little kick. But it has all my recipes that I do put white pepper in. People rave about it. And they're like, oh my God, what is in there? My secret ingredient is white pepper. Believe it or not, it has its own taste compared to black. And I can't find it. Maybe my sister has it. It's very possible. All right, so we're just going to keep stirring this continuously, right? As the cheese melts, you just add a little bit more as you go. I'm thinking about attaching this video to, I did a thing with the cue boards, dark to light. If you ever get curious about a certain saying or catchphrase that has been said a lot, you could go ahead and put that phrase into the board itself, and anything with that phrase in it will come up. All the posts regarding, let's say, dark to light. So that was my specialty viewing for that research. Oh, I'm so hungry, I'm shaking. So you're just gonna keep stirring this. I think I'm gonna attach that to the end of this video. I don't think this video is gonna be too long, but with that attached to it, it's gonna be a little over an hour. If you have the time to take a look at it, I hope you like it. I hope it helps. Just based on the little bit of research that I have behind me, you know, in the least, I want to be able to help people with what I did learn. It's important to share what you know. In this day and age where it seems to be an information famine, if you will, with regards to what's going on in this great nation. But in the meantime, I'm just going to teach you how to cook some cheese. So this one, actually, I got to drizzle over salad, but we didn't have to use this. Now, you want to do 3 wedges of cheese to 1 pint of heavy cream, okay? So if you don't have the 3 triangles, you want to get these 3 here. So a whole, I keep calling it a triangle. It's maybe 7 ounces. It's the smaller ones sometimes. Well, I used to get them when they were $4.99 a wedge. Now I don't know what they are. This is a little bit of a cheaper option, but again, this has a little bit of cornstarch in it, which acts as a little bit of not a filler, but like a little bit of a thickening agent. And because it is in milk, cornstarch doesn't clump. So, and plus I think it adds a little bit of extra flavor to it. I don't know what it is. It has like almost like a bread kind of taste in the cheese itself. So we're gonna go ahead and offload a little bit more. You don't want to do all at once. You want it to melt nice and slow. And again, you want 3 of these. I don't have 3, so what I did was I'm going to use half of this, which makes 1 of these, which there's about a little bit more than half left, but I'm just going to skim off the top and you know, put it down the sink a little bit. So I want it nice and fresh. And this is, there we go. At the fresh bottom there. Perfect. And there's a little bit more than half, it's just fine because there's about a quarter to halfway through this. So the ricotta cheese is going to make up for it. Excelente. That's upstairs. All right, so we're just going to stir this nice. Very simple. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, parsley, and some white pepper if you have it. And there you go. And if you're a plain Jane kind of person, you don't have to put anything in it. The cheese itself is all the flavor you really need. I just like to spice things up a little bit. So here we go. So if you take a look, I'll show you. It's not quite melted yet. So you still got a little ways to go. So you want all of this to be melted before you add in the next batch. And if you take a look here, the heat's low. That's all you need. And if you're quick on your feet, you can turn it up just a little bit, and there you have it. Just keep stirring. What I don't like about the whisk, especially because I used to have all stainless steel, so I used to cook with a whisk, the cheese gets stuck inside of it, especially the hard cheeses like your Asiago, provolone, whatever it is that you're melting, and you almost have to scrub every single, there we go, you almost have to like go through every single one of these and get all that cheese off because it wraps around it and hardens as you're cooking with it. So I prefer using a rubber scraper or silicone, if you will. It doesn't melt, and you're just gonna keep stirring with it. It gently scrapes the bottom, keeps the milk from adhering to the bottom and cooking, therefore burning later on. So you just want to keep stirring it. Let's see if I can get you nice and close here. It's a shame I can't get this higher. But yeah, you have this. That's weird. Okay, so you have this. Alright, I don't know if you can see this or not. You know what, for the sake of this video, I'll put it on the bigger filament so you can kind of see what I'm doing here a little more. So put it on low. I'm just going to keep stirring. This is probably the most and only annoying part of this dish, is that you do have to be on top of it. But the reward outweighs this minor inconvenience, if you will. You just keep stirring. You can tell that it's still a little loose. And I'll show you the line trick when you know that it's done. Most likely this is going to be done, you won't need to do the line trick, but if you're not going to use this kind of cheese, and you're going to use the cheese all in its natural where you're grating it, you have to cook it until it's thick enough. And what you do is you do this. It's the line trick. If it doesn't drip over the line, it means it's done. You use a wooden spoon for that. But if you see like it dripping a little bit into that line from the top of the, you see this top part here dripping down, that's when you know it's not done. So that's that. You can hear it kind of getting warm. You're starting to boil a little bit. This is still have yet to boil. Hopefully this will be done around the same time, because as this is finishing, I'll be able to start with the macaroni, namely the fettuccine. So that's what you're doing here. This is a very simple dish. For the most part, it's pretty economical. I mean, the cheese along with milk, eggs, and everything else, is costly. But you know, it's a nice treat for a Friday night. It's still a lot cheaper than if you were to order out or order takeout. So, you know, there's nothing like a good gourmet dinner. This is one of my pastor's favorites that I've made for he and his family, along with our Bible study group. So this is a big one, big success. And he says that he wants to stop eating bread and all this, you know, all this stuff because he wants to be a little more healthy. He threw that out the window when he saw that I made the Parmesan. So he's like, oh. I said, well, I made gluten-free if you want. He's like, no. He's like, I want to eat this with the good stuff. Now, if you do cook with gluten-free, you have to be very careful, especially if it's things like zoodles, like zucchini noodles, has a lot of water in it. So this could make it look very unappetizing because you have this thick cream sauce with those zoodles, and the zoodles are still secreting water, and it looks underdone. It kind of looks a little slimy. So what I like to do is, if you use things like chickpea pasta, lentil pasta, things like that, you don't cook it until the required amount. For example, if it says cook for 7 minutes, I would do 5 to 6 minutes because it's still going to absorb a lot of this, and this way here it's not going to be too mushy. You get what I'm saying? But as for me in my house, we use the real deal. So I cook to al dente, which is, actually I just do the, let's see, this is 12 to 13 minutes. I'll start at 12, give it a taste. If it's a little too hard still, I'll let it go for that extra minute. And then I turn the heat off, let it sit for a second, and then I dump it out in the sink. I do not rinse my pasta, or I'm sorry, my macaroni. I do not rinse it because all the good semolina that's on it gets rinsed away, and it does lose a lot of flavor when you do that. There's certain kind of starches that's good to rinse. This is not one of them. I know a lot of people do it. My mom still does it, and you're just kind of taking away from it. Now, what I do when I'm done cooking this is I'll put a little butter in it to keep it from sticking together, which I should get some out now. Let's do that. Oh man, shaky. Alright, so you can do a half a stick to a full stick of butter. You know, half a stick is 4 tablespoons. 4 tablespoons of butter to 1 pound is not as much as you think. I mean, this is a very creamy dish. The butter does add a little bit of flavor. So what I'll do is I'll put a half a stick of butter into the pound of pasta, and I'll add a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic powder, you know, whatever ingredients that you like, some parsley. So this way here, the pasta is not going to take away from this, but it's going to meet in the middle, if you will. So it's a very flavorful, good dish. You don't want to overdo it. Salt, you have to be very careful with because there is a lot of salt in here, so I probably won't need to. Here, I'll just taste a little bit here. All right, it's not too salty. That's good. But while this is cooking, I'm going to add a little bit of this ricotta. Like, you're Italian. Why are you saying it like that? I don't believe in just taking off the last syllable going ricotta. It's not how you say it. And that's coming from somebody who lives in Jersey, from New York. I refuse to say that. Alright, so you're just going to stir all that in there. It's going to taste mighty, mighty delicious. There you go. I don't want to waste, so let's get as much out as possible. There we go. There's nothing worse than wasting food, right? So try to get out as much as possible, and then we get rid of these containers in a little bit. Just throw them in the recycle bin, which is also important. Just recycle what you can. Just because I don't believe in climate change doesn't mean I don't recycle. There's many shades of gray in every group of people. For those who don't see that, and I remember there was a point in time where I didn't see that yet. You know, you say, oh, well, you're a Democrat, well, then you're for, like, right away we categorize them, right? We're like, oh, well, they're for open borders, they don't like, you know. Basically, they're against everything that you believe in, but that's not always the case. Likewise, conservatives, I found that I have a lot more disagreements with conservatives on certain topics than even with the liberal Democrats. So, you know, everybody has their own little combination to their brain, if you will, that, you know, has their own school of thought, especially those who think for themselves. Like they can back up their reasoning for believing. And if you could do that, regardless of how much I agree with you or not, I can respect that. Well, you know, I grew up this way and this is what I was taught, this is what I learned, and, you know, can't hate on that. But still in all, you know, I believe in having you can't have a good argument if you don't hear both sides. So, you know, the thing is, the fight isn't really about us. It's with us, but who, you have to ask yourself, is causing it. Right? So you have like the racial division. Well, who's causing it? It's not the two opposing classes of people. It's the people stirring the fire, adding fuel to it. So there we go. See how it's getting nice and creamy? I mean, you still got some chunks in. You want to cook it until everything is like a gravy. So I guess it is a good thing I didn't use the small saucepan, because the small one I have, I'll show you, it's tiny. I think that might have been, yeah. There you go. Alright, so we can go ahead and start adding in the almost a zucchini, fettuccine. A lot of words in Italian foods end in "inis," like panini, fettuccine, zucchini, linguine. Alright, so I'm just going to do this. Let it all go in at once. There you go. And you want to kind of push these down as much as you can to try to get it submerged in the water. You do not start the timer until it starts to boil. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that in previous videos. So I'm going to use this. Here. You're just going to kind of comb it down. Comb it down into the pot like this. Gently so you don't break anything. There's nothing worse than somebody who breaks their macaroni before they put it in. Just kidding, my grandfather used to do that. But his reasoning was, you know, my grandmother was blind. It was easier for her to take smaller bites. And likewise, us children as well. So. And did you know that this measures out the perfect amount of pasta that you should eat? If you wanted to ration out what you're eating for the day, use that little hole in the spoon to measure out the servings. But I cook big, so I'll have some for the week. So I've been wanting to do this for you guys. Also myself, I've been craving Alfredo, and I did mention it in a previous video that I was going to show you how to do it. So let's see, you're going to keep on stirring. Okay. See how it's getting nice, and you still have a few chunks left in it. There we go. It kind of looks like big egg noodles there. I'm going to just keep on stirring that until it's done. So I'm going to turn up the heat just a tiny bit, not even a full button over. Just increase. That's why I love gas stoves. I just love them. You can adjust the heat almost to the, you know, to the heat unit, you know. Unlike electric, it's just like low, medium, high, and like one or two in between. Like this is the real deal. There we go. Alright, so it hasn't really started boiling yet. So what you do, okay, it just started. Alright, so it's 5:05. We're going to do this for 12 minutes first. At first, so it's going to be 5:17. Right? So we cook this until 5:17. Now I know when you put the lid on this, it'll start to boil over, but I just wanted to heat up and get to a rolling boil. I'm just going to stir this up a little bit, and pretty much by the time both of these are done, it'll be pretty much done at the same time. So what I did was put the pot of water on high heat. While that's going, I started making the sauce. I don't know if you caught on to that. That's just how I time myself when I'm making this sauce here. So yeah, and I hope you stay tuned to look at the dark to light segment that I did. There's a lot of people out there who do way better, but if you like to take small bites, I have a nice little fun size package for you for the end of the video, so you can take a look at it. Now you see how it's starting to bubble over a little bit, so you're just going to go ahead and take that before it gets out of control. So we'll just set that right here. And I'm just going to get the colander out. By the way, want to lose your voice? Sing into one of these and it'll strain it. Just kidding. Alright. Dad joke 101. If you ask my opinion, Barilla is one of the best. It has like a naturally sweet taste to it. Although it is technically a product of Canada, they do a very good job with this particular food. And at least as of right now, most countries outside the US doesn't put as much chemicals in it, so I tend to trust this a little bit more than your average macaroni. So it's starting to get nice and squiggly. I mean, you still got a bunch of minutes on it, but then again, look at how big this is. Nice fat macaroni. I'm going to start to keep stirring this. We don't want it to get too hot. There we go. It's a shame I can't zoom out on it. To be continued. Okay, I'm back. So here we have it. Just going to stir this nice and gently. Just scooch over here so I don't keep hitting my device. The easiest way to multitask, right here. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of attention. See how it's starting to finally become a sauce? Still kind of dripping over though. Not done yet. Need something. I'm going to add a little bit more. Let's see. Believe it or not, you could actually use a little bit of sauce, just a little bit. The ricotta cheese doesn't have a lot of sauce. Does not have a lot of salt in it. I'm just going to give it a touch, just a touch. And on another note, if you want to do like a spinach or a broccoli Alfredo, you could do that. My suggestion to you is, especially if it's frozen, it does have a lot of water content into it. You want to saute it first, and what I do is a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of butter, and then just whatever seasonings that you like that you think would go good with your Alfredo. So I tend to do some coarsely chopped garlic while I saute the spinach, and you can, if you want, use just a touch of white wine or sherry just to kind of reduce it a little bit, add a little flavor, and then you can go ahead and put it in the sauce here, and it'll go very well with your dinner or whatever you're cooking for. You'll have a 2 thumbs up rating. In your name, Amazing Kitchen. So from my kitchen to yours, I hope you like this. And unlike my other video, I'm going to show you the finished product of what it's supposed to look like. Again, I apologize about the chicken parmesan, and I put almond crusted in the description. I don't know why. I think my phone put that in there as I was putting it on. I was in the middle of doing something, and then YouTube was giving me, not a hard time, but it was taking longer, so I just typed it in real quick, and I don't know why I put almond crusted chicken. That would be an interesting way to make that particular dish. But I did Parmesan crusted, and what I did with that was I didn't put the Parmesan in the flour, I put it directly in the breadcrumbs, a good amount of it. So when you flour the chicken, dip it in the egg, make sure the egg is nice and thick on it so that cheese will stick to it. And it's important to use non-stick because the cheese will stick to stainless steel if you're not used to cooking with stainless steel. Gotham steel is good. It doesn't have Teflon in it. You know, as you know, I have a bird, so you don't want to do anything that could be remotely toxic. So I'm very cautious with regards to what I cook with and how high the heat I'm using. You know, most recipes I don't exceed 375 in the oven. And I keep it under 400 because the oven itself has fumes in it. So for those who own birds, just giving you little tips to for being careful. I think reptiles too are similar, but specifically birds, they have air sacs. They don't have, that's why they're so light. They have air sacs throughout their body, and what Teflon does is it literally burns holes into them. I'm just going to try one just to see how soft it is. You know, it's got another 4 minutes to go. It's not bad. I'm going to add a little bit more salt to it. Believe it or not, the salt actually adds a little bit of flavor to the macaroni. Meanwhile, I'm going to toss these into the circular receptor, the circular file. Here we go. The garbage receptacle. Keep my kitchen clean as I go. Keeping it clean. Yeah, this is almost done. Almost done. Likewise, so is the macaroni. I should open a handle on Truth Social, so, you know, for those who want to not follow me, but want to, I guess we could follow each other, because you do follow people on Truth Social. Be my friend there. And sometimes I'll send you some updates with regards to what's going on, or if I find a video that, you know, stood out to me in a certain way, you know, I will post it on Truth Social first and foremost before anybody else. So, another good company, or, you know, a good group to follow, believe it or not, is the U.S. Navy. I follow them on Facebook. They have a lot of interesting things. If you are of the awake crowd, when you read certain posts or look at certain numbers, it'll stand out to you like, oh wow. You know, but they say read the comms. So here we go. Not too bad. It's not dripping as much, but you want to cook it a little longer. Keep keeping. Got another 2 minutes on this. Oh, you can even add some fresh basil to that if you want as well. I did not. But it's not a bad idea. I'll let this go for another minute, and then I'm going to try it again, see if it's al dente enough. Al dente literally translates to the tooth. Al is to the, and dente, tooth, to the tooth. So it's just firm enough that you press your tooth through the pasta, but not so much so where you're crunching it. Does that make sense? That has a little bit of ricotta cheese. there you have it. Nice. So we can go ahead and, I mean, you still got a couple chunks left to it. I guess maybe I'll turn it up just a notch just to get it to, you really don't want to bring it to a boil too much. Last thing you want is molten cheese splattering at you. But we're just gonna heat this up a little bit. Okay, so it's 517. I'm gonna turn this back down so I don't forget. There we go. Whew, hot. Hot potato. Let it go another minute. We'll go ahead and turn that off because the hot water still cooks the macaroni. In the meantime, I'm going to cut up half a stick worth of butter. And then put them in little pieces so that when you put it in there, it'll spread out nice and evenly instead of just one big stick in there. Or one half stick, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and cut it in half. And just do like half tablespoon slices of it, and you're just gonna spread it out. Spread the wealth. There you have it. I'm gonna go ahead and pour this out, and then immediately pour the strainer back into the pot. Okay. There we go. The reason why you immediately put the macaroni back in is because you want it a little wet when you put it back on the stove, because the burners are still, even though it's gas, there's still a little heat on them, so you don't want it to necessarily stick to the bottom. So you got your little slices of butter here. Put that in. Stir that up nice. All right. Go ahead and mix that around. We've got individual little slices of butter here being spread out evenly. Keep stirring that. There we go. It's getting nice and creamy now. All right. Again, we're gonna do a little bit of, do a little garlic. Sprinkle that in. Gives a nice flavor to the macaroni. We are going to do, I wish I had some white pepper. Maybe that's what maybe I'm so used to it. Now that it's missing, I feel like the whole recipe's missing something. I have a very sensitive palate. I know when something's missing. Yeah. I'm at a loss. I'm gonna have to raid my sister's kitchen for my white pepper. All right, now you have this properly mixed up. Now this rubber scraper is awesome. So let's do this. We're gonna take that off the heat. I'm just gonna get this excess butter for the sake of not wasting. All right. I'm just gonna see that rubber scraper just kind of gets everything out. Sounds gross, plip plop ploop, but wait till I get it all mixed up nice and evenly. It's gonna look like a soup at first, but the macaroni is not completely cooked through, so it is gonna soak up a lot of this excess milk. So what you want to do is you want to unless you're starving like I am, but I'm still gonna try to wait a couple minutes. You wanna give it about 5 minutes and allow the macaroni to just soak up a lot of the excess milk, and that's gonna add a nice flavor to your macaroni. And then there you go. How good is that? It smells so good. It smells like garlic bread with a hint of cheese. Smells so good. Actually, I'm gonna use that. Wash this. It's moment of truth. There you go. There we go. Let that soak for a little bit. There you have it. Oh, all right, you know what? I'm just going to take a scoop out because I am hungry and super starving. So here we go. I talk about this all the time, but I love me some Splash H2O. So you give it a little stir. Man, they're active today, huh? All right. Just want to make sure they're not. People across the way, I trust them. I don't trust the people upstairs. And that's what I'm looking out for. All right. So this here is half lemonade, half fruit punch. So one of those packets makes a half a gallon. So I did half and half because I wanted to, I kind of was in the mood for both. And actually it's a pretty happy marriage. Cheers. So good. All right. So let's get this nice scooped up here. And I hope you stay tuned to watch the dark to light. And I did a lot of editing because you know how I have like these long pauses, stop talking, and then get confused or say the wrong word. So I fixed it so I don't torture you guys any more than you're allowing me to. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to keep things concise. So I hope you do enjoy it in the least. You know, that information's out there for you to, yeah, I'm gonna make myself a nice big bowl. There we go. Kids will love this because technically it is like it's like an Italian macaroni and cheese, if you will. It's really good. I'm just gonna take an extra scoop of the cream itself. So I feel like it's a little bit too might be a little too wet, but that's fine because I use ricotta instead of more hard cheeses. So ricotta is a very soft cheese. It's very watery in nature. So naturally, this is not going to be as, I'm not going to say not as creamy. It's creamy. It's just not as firm as one would think, one would expect it to be. So let's go ahead, take a taste. I really need spaghetti spoons. This is the best I got. I don't know how to eat macaroni without one. Just kind of twist it like this. Perfect. Hope you enjoy it if you decide to make this. I doubt you would be disappointed.